What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another NBA Rundown brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. Just a quick reminder to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and away we go. Today I got Hoop with me. Hoop, how was your weekend? Were you running pure, making these lineups?
Yeah, it was a solid weekend. A lot of fun in terms of DFS gambling wise. Didn't go too crazy. I mean, I had some golf teams that did all right. Had some MMA squads that were looking all right. I had the guy that snapped his leg in half, so that didn't help all that much in MMA. But yeah, it was a good weekend in terms of the NBA. I mean, we got a full slate here, obviously, 11 games, and end of April, you know what that means. Tons of news, and there's some spots that it's going to be nearly impossible for us to fully break down, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, we got 11 game slate. We'll probably give you picks and leans on 9 because there's 2 that I've eliminated until I have injury news. But let's just get started and jump in right away. Definitely think there are some exciting matchups. So, I think it's going to be a fun night to watch the NBA, regardless of how many wagers you end up putting in. First game we got the Atlanta Hawks, 34-27, 34-26 against the spread. Head to Detroit to take on the Pistons, who are 18-43, 31-26 against the spread. Looking at the injury report, Hoop, it looks like one of the nights where Detroit's going to play all their players because they either have 7 people on there or no one. So
Yep.
it looks like we're getting a full Detroit team. Regardless, I do not think that's going to be enough against this Atlanta Hawks team. I think that with the sharpshooting they have, they can just absorb the loss of Trae Young fairly efficiently. You got Gallinari, who's shooting about the same from 3. Bogdanovich has been better from 3 than Young so far. So when you increase those guys' usage, I think it works out just fine. This is the reason the addition for Lou Williams was made, an actual extra score. As much as Rondo can help the team for navigating, they just got a guy who can fill it up. John Collins is back, and Capella's been playing great. I think this number should be 6. It's 4.5. I like Atlanta. What do you think?
Love Atlanta. It's one of my favorite plays. I'm glad you're on the same page as I am. I mean, basically for all the reasons that you mentioned. Like Trae Young's out, but this team hasn't missed a beat, and they have multiple guys that have stepped up. Bogdanovich has been great. I mean, anytime and any point this season when Trae Young's been out, Bogdanovich has stepped in and played quite well, and that's what we've seen recently out of him. For DFS purposes, the price tag is a little elevated on him, but I'm fine going to him. I went to him last night. He was like 8K on DK, got 45 fantasy points. You're happy with that. His shooting, it has come around. Kevin Huerter, another guy that's kind of stepped up with Trae Young out. Lou Williams, Gallinari. I mean, they have all these guys that are kind of just stepping into bigger roles and filling the shoes nicely. And this team really hasn't missed a beat. Like we said, Pistons, one of these dead teams that aren't necessarily in it to win it. And, not saying they're going to come out and intentionally lose basketball games, but they have a ton of guys that are going to mix and match here. So for DFS, it's a great spot to avoid. I mean, the Pistons have turned into one of those teams when all these guys are out or resting. Great to target for DFS when they're all in. It's just an easy avoid. So for me, this game is very clear. I love the Hawks. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm going to bet it right now.
All right, and I've already placed that one as well. I'm glad to see that we are on the same page there. Let's go to another game that I don't think I'm going to bet. I can give you a little bit of a lean here, but I definitely do not like it. I'm talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, who are 35-25, 28-31 against the spread, heading to Orlando to take on the Magic, who are 18-42, 28-31 against the spread, but not doing too well lately. They've got 4 double-digit losses in a row. This is a Lakers team. Boy, they're struggling. You know what threw me off, Hoop? So every other team, right, says health is so important, right? The Sixers, it's all about health. We're just going in there healthy. Nets, all we care about is being healthy once the playoff starts. Anthony Davis is calling this game against Orlando a must-win. I'll tell you what, numbers say that I should jump in with Orlando here, but that worries me, and I'm worried that this is going to be a smash spot, get right game for Davis and the Lakers in general. First game back, Davis didn't look good. He was rusty. Second game back, I think he was starting to get it, but he looked tired towards the end, right? He looked good in that first half. When they need him in the fourth quarter, he went 1 for 5. I think this is the night he puts it all together. So numbers say Magic, the situational spot, and the intuition says Lakers. So the whole thing screams past to me, but maybe you can find a nice spot here.
Yeah, I mean, it's two teams that I've generally been avoiding in terms of sports betting and DFS for the most part. We've had some decent spots with the Magic, with some injury news and whatnot, but on an 11-game slate, likely won't be going here at all. I mean, if there was like a get right spot for the Lakers to put it all together, kind of like you said, like this is definitely it against Orlando. But the spread kind of indicates that. You're talking 10.5, 11. For me, this is a very clear stay away. If Anthony Davis was going to get his normal amount of minutes, 36, 37 minutes, then okay, maybe, I'd take a look at the Lakers here. But for me, this is a stay away in all aspects, like not going to bet it, not going to play anyone from DFS, and that's fine. There's 11 games. Like we're going to find our spots on this slate for betting purposes. We just talked about one that we really like, and we're going to find our spots here for DFS. This just isn't it for me.
Yeah, I mean, really, if I was to get involved, I'd probably just look to the under. I think that I think it'll be a slow-paced game, and I also think that this Los Angeles defense with Davis coming back. One thing I did notice, I thought Davis's defense looked pretty good. I thought he was more rusty on the offensive end. I think Drummond will look nice here tonight. Carter's going to look small in this matchup here, so probably look to the under if I was like forcing to play. But with so many nicer spots on the card tonight, I'm not probably going to do that. This game we're going to be real quick on because the injury report is a disaster, but I'll describe your thoughts on it real quick. The Thunder, who are 20-40, 28-32 against the spread, headed into Philadelphia to take on the Sixers, 39-21, 30-28 against the spread. Line is 12.5, but the reason I said we're going to pretty much avoid trying to cap this game is let's look at everybody who is questionable here, and that's Korkmaz, Simmons, Reed, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. So their top 3 players are questionable. I don't really know how you can get involved. So I guess my guess is if those guys do sit, who are you targeting on Philly? Assuming the 3 big names I just said sit.
Yeah, I mean, if they all sit, I mean, the first one we're going to look to is Dwight Howard. I mean, he'd likely start and be in for a really big role. If all those guys sit and Seth Curry's still in, then Seth Curry would be an option. Danny Green. They still do have a lot of bodies though. Shake Milton's another guy you could add to that list. This game is 7 p.m. Eastern, so I mean we're going to have it for DFS purposes. The spread here is still 12.5, which I guess kind of indicates that at least a couple of these guys are most likely going to play, but maybe it's just because OKC is that bad. Who the hell knows? Very hard to handicap, very hard to really pick and choose DFS guys. One dude that does stand out with a nice price tag is Svai Mikhailuk, 3.6K on DK. With Lou Dort out, he should have a pretty solid role here, and he's the cheapest of the bunch. So I think he makes sense from a value / punt perspective tonight.
All right, let's just move on to the next game because I think it's going to be really hard to handicap. Of course, you'll have more information if you're hanging out watching the Hardwood live show over on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel, and we should be getting that information around then. And these Sixers, don't trust them till you see them out there warming up because they'll switch on you real quick. So this next game I think is actually a pretty simple handicap. I'm talking about the San Antonio Spurs, who are 30-29, 32-26 against the spread, heading to Washington to take on the Wizards. The simple handicap is this: Bradley Beal is questionable. If Beal plays, give me the 3.5. I love Washington here. I think it's a great spot. If he doesn't play, I like the Spurs. I don't think they'll have enough offense to keep up. So, it's another one we're pretty much going to have to wait on. It's hard to really give out a pick on this game, I think, until you know his status. How are you approaching this game?
Well, it just all kind of switched. The injury report flipped for the Wizards as of 2 minutes ago. Now Russell Westbrook is questionable, and Bradley Beal and Hachimura are no longer on the injury report. So it literally completely flipped.
2021 in a nutshell right there.
Yeah. So Westbrook's questionable. Beal not on the injury report, and Hachimura apparently will be coming back. which kind of came out of nowhere. So it makes it even harder to pinpoint. Now, if Westbrook sits DFS wise, Beal's obviously going to be a very strong play. Hachimura has been playing well. Raul Neto would also get a nice boost. So, I mean, for me, Westbrook out from a DFS perspective, Westbrook out is much bigger than Beal being out. So this again, 7 p.m. Eastern game. We'll get the news on this one. Hard to really say much more. DFS wise on the Spurs, I mean, they're just not a team that we're playing, especially on an 11-game slate. That'll be the same sentiment on the hardwood show later. I mean, just have not been playing these guys, and it's worked out. So we're not gonna change our path on the Spurs team. Great team to fade most nights for DFS.
All right. So, yeah, that's a fairly easy one. I will be tuned in to Hardwood Live later this evening. And, now it looks like I'm waiting on Westbrook news.
Yes.
So, but boy, Washington's tempting here. I mean, they've been playing so well, and I just think San Antonio's on a road trip. It's a tempting spot for Washington. So, but let's move on to a game that, I mean, this is going to be the game that's going to be on TV, regardless of whether or not I put money on it. I have not yet. I have a lean, but I'd love to talk to you about it here. I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns, who are 42-18, 37-23 against the spread, heading to New York to take on the resurgent Knicks. One of the most fun stories of the NBA this year, and the Knicks they're doing fantastic, right? They're on a win streak. They've been winning. They've been covering. They've been playing great. And, everyone thought Thibodeau was going to run them in the ground. They have one of the cleanest injury reports every night. So
yeah,
maybe the old guy's onto something here. Phoenix here is a team that, I like I like this game matchup-wise for them. A little concerned about the fatigue, at the end of this brutal road trip. Last 4 games at Milwaukee, at Philadelphia, at Boston, then at Brooklyn. Now you go to a Knicks team that I think, I could safely say is the easiest to handicap in terms of effort. We always get it every night, every player. So, that's what worries me here. When you match up wise, though, you look at these two teams, right? It seems like it's a great matchup here for Phoenix. How are you approaching this game? And do you like the home dog here, maybe? Or are you with me that this is a nice spot for Phoenix?
I love Phoenix. I bet them
Okay.
this morning. It's a good story, the Knicks. I mean, I like seeing stuff like this, a team that no one really projected to do anything. They're kind of just busting their ass and getting the job done, just like a hard-working type team. Kind of reminds me of, I'm from Detroit, those old Pistons teams in the early 2000s where they went out and just busted their ass and played hard defense. And, you don't see much of that in this day and age. And that's kind of what the Knicks are doing. And it's a great story for the NBA. Thibodeau, very impressive what he's been able to accomplish with this squad. But I think it comes to an end tonight against the Suns. I just think the Suns are the better team. The road trip and all that is the one worrisome part, but maybe it's baked into this number. Who knows? I think it's a good
it
spot.
definitely is. It definitely is. Yeah.
Because it just seems like a low number. The 2 number just doesn't seem accurate. So I'm going to be on the Suns. Like I said, I'm already on the Suns. I already bet it. But it's not taking anything away from the Knicks. I mean, I love what they're doing. I love the story. I just think the Suns are the better team, and I think it's actually a spot where the Suns are going to get up. I mean, they're trying to prove something in the regular season, the Suns. They're not one of these playoff teams that's just trying to coast their way to the playoffs. Like, they're trying to prove something here in the regular season, and that's hard to find right now at this point in the NBA season. So really like the Suns here, minus the 2. DFS-wise, it's complete opposite. I have zero interest in either side. You're talking about 2 deep teams that are healthy and 2 defensive-minded teams. And we already have a lot of injury news. We already have a lot of value. I think this game, DFS-wise, is a very, very easy fade.
All right. Another game that I wouldn't be surprised if you're fading as well. Let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 21-39, 24-36 against the spread, heading to Tampa to take on the Toronto Raptors, who are 25-35, 26-33 against the spread. The bookmakers put up a line that I think is very good in this game. Toronto minus 10 seems about right. The way I am attacking this game is I'm going to watch the injury report. Oh, I already got the news.
Yeah.
Colin Sexton's out. I want the under.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm looking at this game.
that was the piece of news we were waiting on in this game, obviously, and everything kind of becomes a little bit clearer in terms of for fantasy purposes. Like, I don't think I'm going to bet the. I don't know. You say you do have a lean on this one?
I'm not on the side. I think the 10 is about right.
Yeah,
But with Colin Sexton out, I think that it's too tough of a matchup for Garland to be the sole creator. I think
yeah,
it's too easy for a team. And this is one thing about Toronto. Their defense has it's gone down this year, right? It's definitely not been
yeah,
as good. They've missed the rim protection. But they're still one of the few teams that will actually scheme and game plan for their
yeah,
individual opponents. Garland's just too easy to take out here. Kevin Love has been inconsistent, but he's not really a creator anymore.
yeah,
Without Garland's creation, I just think that they really struggle here. I'm
yeah.
just going to go with the under. So that's the way
Back
I'm
back
looking
to
at this
back
game.
too. I mean, they played last night, so
Yeah.
uh, yeah. DFS wise, though, we do have a couple plays. Chetty Osman,
Okay.
cheap. I mean, 3.5 on FanDuel. He's 3.8. He started last night for Sexton and played 37 minutes. I expect the same tonight. And he's a guy that can kind of contribute all across. I mean, played the 37 minutes, got you 31 fantasy points. That's more than enough at his price tag. So he'll be a popular value play tonight, but just seems like a very stable play. And then Jared Allen, for some reason on FanDuel, is like 5.7K, which is just way too cheap for him. So Osman on both sites, and then Jared Allen on FanDuel, definitely in the conversation in all formats.
All right. Definitely like the way that you're approaching that one there. This game, so I haven't bet it yet, but I'm really close. Definitely want to hear what you think about it. The Chicago Bulls are 25 and 35, 31 and 28 against the spread. This is going to be a rematch with the Miami Heat. This game was played on Saturday night. Miami closed at 4.5. They barely covered, winning by 5. The line is adjusted. It's now Chicago +6. I kind of like the zigzag here. I think the Bulls can kind of bounce back here and cover this 6-point spread. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I don't have a strong lean on this one at all. Like I don't have a grip on this at all. I mean, it's a low total, 205. So DFS wise, like this game is a good one to fade. You can't pay premium for Butler and Bam and a 205 total tonight. So can't do that. And then what's the injury situation for Kobe White? He was, I think he's questionable, maybe.
I don't see him on the. I don't see him
Maybe
on
it's
here.
not on the report. Maybe it was yesterday. I was thinking. So,
And he played pretty well in the last game. He was
yeah,
actually one of the reasons I was worried about not covering because I had
yeah,
Miami in the last game. But I'm
yeah. So
considering
yeah,
just
maybe I'm
pulling
talking
the
about
trigger on the
what's been
zigzag.
questionable. Maybe it was last week. Who the hell knows? But
Yeah.
I don't really have a strong lean either way. I mean, the 6
Okay.
seems like a pretty accurate number, but I know for DFS purposes, not going to be coming here.
No, I won't either because I lean under on this 206. I think it's going to be a
Great.
slow game here. I think that you guys are right there to ignore it. Let's talk about another game that's a zigzag, but I don't think I'm going to play, the zigzag theory here. And I'm talking about the Utah Jazz heading to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. Now, the difference in this game is they played the last game in Utah. So, whereas the Miami game, they just played a game. They stayed put. Now they're playing 2 days later. They flew from Utah to Minnesota here. I liked Minnesota in the first one, and I like them again tonight. And my handicap is fairly simple. I love the way that Karl Anthony Towns is able to score on Gobert. NBA is one of the few sports where the great offense beats the great defense.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're kind of nullifying one of their biggest strengths, and that's their rim protection and their strength in the middle. Towns can pull them out. And then I love the young athletic abilities going against these slower, older wings. We get to attack Ingles. We get to attack Bogdanovich with guys like Edwards and McDaniels. I think it's just going to be too much for him. Of course, I'm not brave enough to take the money line here, but give me the points, plus 9.5. I think they can keep it close. After winning outright, of course, the zigzag and the revenge is a tad bit of a worry, but I just like the matchup for Minnesota too much. And how often do you ever get to say that?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking Minnesota here, but yeah, you sold me a little bit more. Just to add to that, you have D'Angelo Russell, who's now playing more minutes, played over 30 for the first time since returning from the injury in that last game against the Jazz. That obviously will help them from an offensive standpoint. Can kind
Right.
of envision some of him and Clarkson going back and forth. So yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like a bigger number. And I'm not no Donovan Mitchell. It just seems like a big number, 9.5. Minnesota's at home. Like it's not like they're fully tanking. Like their main guys are still getting minutes. Like you
Mm.
can count on Edwards. I mean, played 36 last game. You got, like I said, D'Angelo Russell over 30 now. Cat's going to play as many minutes as he can handle, maybe into the upper 30s. Played 37 last game. So this isn't your team that's totally mailed it in, and they're coasting with their starter or their superstars. Like they're letting their guys play the minutes, which makes me kind of like Minnesota here. So I am with you DFS wise. Russell still has a good price tag. D'Angelo Russell, 6'4" on DK. I think he is an appealing option. On the Utah side, it's a great matchup, but the price tags aren't all that good. On DK, you have Clarkson now almost up to 7K, Conley 7.4. Maybe as like a last guy in, you take a look at some of these guys, but they're not going to be guys that I'm building my lineups around tonight.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you land on them, but even then, you might not
Yeah,
feel that comfortable. You might go for the
yeah.
rebuild there. So, yeah, I think that's a tougher game DFS wise, but I do like Minnesota from a betting perspective. This is going to be a fun game. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Clippers, 43 and 19, 36 and 25 against the spread, heading to New Orleans to take on the roller coaster Pelicans, 26 and 34, 26 and 34 against the spread. Hoop, you and I have railed against Van Gundy before. We don't
Yeah.
do it again. Let's go ahead and just give credit to Ty Lue. This team has not had their players and they're still winning, right?
Yeah.
Let's look. Ibaka's out again. Luke Kennard's going to be out. Kawhi's not going to play again. And Patrick Beverly's out, right? We will get Marcus Morris tonight. When I see a Rajon Rondo questionable, that makes me think he is going to play. Um, I mean, I think Ty Lue's doing a fantastic job. I think Van Gundy's doing a terrible job. I like the Clippers here, even with all those guys sitting. And I think
Yep.
that just shows you how Van Gundy's just not getting it done.
He's not, man. He's just, I think he's one of the most overrated like coaches. People think he's a really good coach. To me, he's just not. The decision making is just piss poor most nights.
Yeah.
And the team's paying the price. I mean, they got the talent. Obviously, look at the roster; they have a talented roster, but he just makes some poor decisions. I'm on the Lakers in this one. Really like what we've seen out of Paul George lately. He's early on in the year, a lot of inconsistencies. We didn't really see any of these big games. He's just rounding into form, I think, in the perfect time here, at the perfect time. Fantasy wise, 60 fantasy points last time out, 56, 46, 61. It's going to be the same situation and even better because this matchup is just so good against the Pelicans. The price has come up a little bit. That's fine. Like I really like Paul George. Marcus Morris has been playing well. I think you can take a look at him. Zubac as well in play. On the Pelican side, even though I like the Clippers, I do have some interest in some of these guys. Brandon Ingram on FanDuel, he's like 8.1 or 8.2K. I think that's a good price tag for him. Zion, you're kind of paying a premium here, but man, he should have his way in this matchup. I don't see who's going to be able to slow him down on the Clippers side. So I think Zion's in play despite the high price tag. But by far my favorite play in this game DFS wise is Paul George. I'm willing to pay that elevated price tag for him. And I like the Clippers minus the 2.5. And it's not because of the talent on the court. It's what you opened with, more so the coaching and just how well the Clippers have been playing lately.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look at Zion. I'll tell you what, if I were to make an argument for the Pelicans, I mean, that would be, the key matchup that I would be looking for. I just don't, who's going to stop Zion on Los Angeles, right? But when it comes down to it, I just trust the Clippers more. If this game stays close, I think that they can do a better job of keeping Zion away from where he wants to be and just double and tripling him. Then I trust the Pelicans to really put the Clippers in a bad spot. So I think this is a night where the coaching shines through. And I think, it was a players' league. With the salary cap and these players kind of migrating together, it's become a coaches league more
Yeah.
than I'd say in the last 10 or 15 years. I think that will be on display tonight. Let's talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, who are 31 and 28, 37 and 21 against the spread, heading to Denver to take on the Nuggets. You know, they lost Jamal Murray, but they're not out. You know, they're still playing well. Good heart, good effort. Only 28 and 32 against the spread, though. Denver now -4 tonight. What a weekend here for the Memphis Grizzlies, right? We know how critical those two games were for the play-in. They went in, they beat their rival, and what a show by John Morant. Four of the five best highlights of the whole weekend were John Morant highlights, right? I mean, just fantastic. I don't think that could have gone any better. The reason I'm bringing this up, this seems like a huge let down spot, and I feel that even if they lose tonight, they still get on the plane feeling great, right? That they've done what they needed to do here. It seems like a schedule loss to me. You know, you get the high of playing against that Portland team last night. Now you got to fly to Denver to play a Denver team, you know, that does so much better in the altitude. And my final thing on this handicap, Memphis struggles with size, and that's what Denver's going to give you there with Jokic,
Yeah.
MPJ, and Aaron Gordon. I think that they're really going to beat him up inside, even if Valanciunas plays. You know, Jaren Jackson's back. Maybe he'll help mitigate that a little, but I love the matchup here. I really like Denver. I think this is a schedule loss for Memphis.
Yeah. This was the game last Monday that went into double overtime. They played it,
Right.
yeah, I believe it was a week. Man, the Grizzlies have played a lot of games since. So this would be their
Mhm.
fourth game since that. And so in 7 days, they got a lot of games here. And like you said, this is a bad spot coming to Denver, which is obviously one of the harder places to play on a back to back in the high altitude. Love Denver here. This is another game that I had pegged early on. Uh, you know, Michael Porter Jr. is playing phenomenally well. And, if he can continue playing like this, I think he can almost erase that void that they're going to feel with Jamal Murray. I mean, where Jamal Murray helped them the most was having these explosive scoring games where he just goes off and scores 40 points. Like Michael Porter Jr. is showing that he can be that guy. And if he can be that guy, I think this team is still very alive to make a run here at the title. So, I love this Nuggets team. DFS wise, Jokic is in play. Michael Porter Jr. As much as I like him, the price tag is now adjusted 8.5K. Would be more of a tournament play. Dozier price has come up on him after he's had some good games once being inserted into that starting lineup. Better on FanDuel than on DraftKings. Same with Campazzo, better FanDuel play than DraftKings. The prices are just much better on FanDuel for these guys versus DraftKings, but really like the spot here for Denver overall. You get the big spend in Jokic. If you have the money, he should have his way in this matchup. Dozier, Campazzo, more on FanDuel and DraftKings, but definitely a good spot.
Yeah, you made a lot of fun points here. And one thing I'd just like to follow up on when Murray got hurt, right? Originally, we all wrote off Denver. I'm kind of, I want that paper back. I don't know if I'm ready to
Yeah,
write this team off. I think the key is, and he's not going to play tonight. Okay, so factor that in. But overall, the key to them being able to absorb that injury, you brought it up. Porter can give you the offense, right? What I need is I need a healthy Will Barton. I think Barton can defend a little
yeah,
better. He's fallen off. He's not as good as he used to be, but he's still better than Murray was. And he gives you that pick and roll option. Now, he cannot shoot the three off the pick and roll as well as Murray. But here's what he can do: he can beat you, get towards the rim, force a collapse, and shoot it out to a teammate getting the three. Right. So the
yeah.
net is the same for the Denver Nuggets. I think that they can actually absorb this injury. I still
Yeah.
think they can come out of the West with this squad.
I do too.
But the two keys, Will Barton, and like you said, I need this elite play from Porter
Yeah,
Jr. Any sort
yeah.
of regression from either of those two, and they are out. But I still like Denver here. I mean, I think this is a lot of fun. So, um, you know, spoiler alert, that's going to end up being my best bet. This next game is I don't think we can cap it right now. Hoop. I guess maybe just talk about what you're going to do if these guys are in and out. But I'm talking about the Dallas Mavericks heading to Sacramento to take on the Kings here. But the reason we can't cap it is JJ Redick questionable, Dorian Finney-Smith questionable, Josh Richardson questionable, Chris Porzingis questionable, Luka Doncic questionable, Maxi Kleber questionable. 6 of the top 8 players questionable. I mean, you can't bet it. You got to watch
No,
Hardwood live, and then
yeah,
if you want to get involved, for example, if all these guys are in, I say lay the 6. I know the Kings kept it close and covered against the Warriors last night. It took an absolutely stellar performance from Halliburton. You know, so,
Yeah.
but
It's
regardless, I don't know.
it's impossible for sports betting, and it's actually might be almost as impossible for DFS because
It's late.
yeah, it's the only late game. It's the
Yep.
only 10 p.m. Eastern game, and I mean, unless they throw us a favor and say, okay, Luke is in, but these other guys are still questionable. If we get
Right.
something, it'll help. But you can't really build your teams waiting on this news because if it doesn't go your way,
Right.
you're done. You're screwed. You just have no options. So it's a very tough situation. We already had the 4 of those guys questionable. Then they added Reddick and Finney Smith to the with questionable tags as well. Are they just going to go ahead and just fully like throw this one and not give it a full effort? I mean, what are they doing here? We don't know. It's hard to tell. They have been pretty good with their injury news for the most part, though. So I mean, maybe we get this early, but as it stands right now, it's just impossible to know. I mean, on the Kings side, Halliburton I think is still a great play with De'Aaron Fox out. He's 6.8K on DK, 42 spot last night, and he's just steady. Obviously, he can contribute all across the board. I think he's a strong play. Mo Harkless, a value play, potentially 30 minutes. Obviously, the floor is low with him. Like he can play those 30, like he did last night. Played the 31 minutes, got you 13 fantasy points. So it's a very low floor type guy, but he's going to be out there. He's gonna play, going to get minutes. So just a hard game, though, like you said, overall to really fully break down.
Yeah. And from the DFS perspective, I think the hard part is, right, I don't think you can just fade the game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just too much potential here, right? I mean,
yeah, you can't. But the problem is most of these games tonight are 7 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Eastern. So at 8 p.m. Eastern, all but 2 games are going to be locked.
So do you think you'll just fade the game? Like, so let's say it goes, it's 7 p.m. Eastern. You don't have any news yet. All these guys are still questionable. Would you just fade the game?
I think you'd have to consider not playing guys from this game because you're gonna be screwed. This slate is set up where a ton of early games. Like I said, we have an 11-game slate. All but 2 start lock at 8 p.m. Eastern or earlier. So then you're just left with the Grizzlies, Nuggets, Mavs, Kings, and who the hell knows if these guys are true game time decisions. We might not get this news till closer to 10 p.m. Eastern, and then you're really, really screwed. The hope is obviously, it's 1:45 Eastern right now, that we get at least a little bit of news or get something that says, this guy's, might play, or just anything would help. But if we're at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have nothing. It's just going to be really hard to bank on playing these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to fade the game and then Jalen Brunson breaks the slate or something.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
but I mean, he's the guy that is not obviously on the injury report. And if all those guys sit,
if all those guys sit, he would have to be a must play. That's why I think it's like one of the toughest situations we've seen in DFS since I started doing the joint shows.
Yeah.
Where
because it's the best spot possible. I mean, this is the spot you want. You want cheap. You want guys against the Kings.
Against the Kings, and a guy like Jalen Brunson, who I think he's been the bright spot for the Dallas Mavericks this year, right? I would say that Luka hasn't necessarily been a disappointment, right? But he's exactly what he was last year, right? Porzingis has been a disappointment. I think Josh Richardson has been a disappointment. Hardaway's regressed, right? Their only real bright spot of all of this whole supporting cast has been Jalen Brunson. So great opportunity for him tonight if all these players sit. Shame on the NBA for allowing this to happen. It's 10:45. I should be able to cap this game here, guys. But that's not the case, and it's not going to change. So we're dealing with it. We're making the best of it. And regardless, I think we're going to be able to find a couple great best bets on the games that are more defined. And this Mavericks game's off the board now. So I'm wondering if we're going to get news while we're talking. Do you see anything?
No.
They didn't take the total down though. They just took the money line and the spread down.
Interesting.
Makes me think that's not Luka related. I think Luka would affect the total. I don't know if the other guys would. We'll keep an eye on that though. But it's the time. It's our time to shine. It's the best bet section. So before we do that though, want to let everyone know what's going on over at Run for Sports this week.
Yeah, I mean, we got full slate of content: NBA, MLB. We got the PGA back to normal format. Last week was that team event, so PGA is back to normal format. We have that promo going. Well, two promos basically. If you want to try the bets package, which you guys have obviously been on fire over there, get bets with a monthly package. You have to have a monthly DFS bets combo pack. Get bets gets you the bets portion for free for the first month. And we also have RPS Heater 25, which will just get you 25% off any monthly package on our website. So we have both those promos going. NBA, MLB in full swing, and then obviously, like I said, the PGA back to regular full field stroke play event. So a ton of stuff going on, all our normal shows and content to go along with the sports.
All right. So, yeah, you definitely want to take advantage of that offer, either the promo code GetBets or RPS Heater 25. Start jumping in with all these cores. The MLB's been fantastic. The NBA's been fire this year, and, I can't think of a better place to get your DFS content. West Coast Jam asked a good question here. He says, Spread, would they take that Dallas down if a big better hit like the Kings money line? No. In that case, they just move their line. When it goes off, and obviously I don't know 100% for sure, but I'm under the impression that 95% of the time when these lines go off, it's news and information related. It's not money related, because they already have their money in. If we hit it for the max, they're just going to move the line. They already know exactly. Okay, if we take, bookmaker takes a 20 grand bet, basically their max NBA bet, they're just going to move the line the second that bet's accepted. Because they have math for all that. It's the uncertainty that takes these things down. But I think that's a great question, West Coast Jam. And with that, let's go to the best bet section. What do you like today, Hoop? What is the best bet, side total or prop, for this NBA slate?
We had a couple contenders. We talked about that Suns at Knicks game. We both are on the Suns. I was thinking about going with the Suns, but I'm going to go back to that first game we talked about, the Atlanta Hawks minus that 4.5. Really like the Hawks here. Been playing totally fine without Trae Young. A lot of these guys have stepped up, beat the Bucks last night. I think they carry that momentum tonight against this Pistons team that, we always talk about it, not necessarily in the business of winning basketball games at this point. They're doing a lot of funky things with their rotations and whatnot. So give me the Hawks minus 4.5.
All right. And you know me, I already told you I like the Denver Nuggets here. I think this is a scheduled spot loss for the Grizzlies. I think it's going to be really tough, and I think the size advantage for Denver shines through this evening. So just a quick reminder, guys, if you love the information, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll have Mr. Mangone and JSU with me, so that's always fun because we can count on those guys to disagree on almost every single game. And you'll get a great perspective on both sides. So we always like to bring you that type of content. Hoop, I wanted to thank you for hanging out. And always appreciate you hanging out with us on the Mondays. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Head on over to runpurebets.com. Check out everything we have to offer. I will see you tomorrow at 1 Run Pure.